Your cat sat at the edge of the hallway last night and stared at nothing. Not at you, not at a sound you could hear, just a fixed point on the wall, completely still for almost a full minute. You probably glanced over, smiled and thought, "Classic cat," then you went back to your phone. Most people file that moment under "cats are just weird." And honestly, that explanation feels reasonable. Cats do strange things, everyone knows that. There's an entire corner of the internet built on exactly that assumption. But here's what the science actually says: that stillness wasn't random. That stare wasn't nothing. Your cat was processing something with sensory equipment so finely calibrated that researchers still don't fully understand its upper limits. And the behavior it triggered is one of the clearest. Windows into how your cat experiences the world around them. Understanding what's really happening in those moments doesn't just make you a more informed owner. It fundamentally changes the way you read your cat. And what you realize is that they've been communicating with you consistently and clearly in a language you were never taught to recognize. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to change that. We're covering 7 behaviors that most cat owners misread their entire lives. We'll go through the subtle ones first, the signals that are easy to dismiss, and build toward the one behavior that tends to completely reframe everything. That last one involves a change so quiet, so easy to miss, that most people only recognize it in hindsight. It's worth staying for. Let's start with the behavior hiding in plain sight. You've seen this dozens of times and never thought twice about it. Your cat walks up to you while you're sitting on the couch, makes direct eye contact and blinks slowly, deliberately, then looks away. It lasts maybe 2 seconds. It happens and then it's over, and you probably just blinked back without knowing why. Most people read this as their cat being drowsy or simply content. The slow blink looks like tiredness, so that's the assumption. It seems like your cat is just relaxed in your presence, peaceful, unbothered. What it actually is, according to feline behavior researchers, is something far more intentional. The slow blink is an active trust signal. Cats in the wild and domestic cats retain this instinct completely. Never close their eyes, even partially, near another creature they perceive as a threat. Voluntarily narrowing your vision is an act of vulnerability. When your cat slow blinks at you, they are, in the language of feline social behavior, lowering their guard on purpose. They are choosing to be briefly undefended in your presence. The depth layer here is worth sitting with. This behavior is rooted in predator survival mechanics. In a cat's ancestral wiring, eye contact itself is a challenge. Sustained eye contact between cats signals aggression or dominance. The slow blink is the deliberate de-escalation of that signal. It evolved as a way to communicate peaceful intent between cats who needed to coexist without fighting. When your cat does it to you, they are using the same vocabulary they use with other cats they trust completely. What that actually means is that your cat isn't just comfortable near you. They have classified you as someone safe enough to be vulnerable around, which, for a solitary predator, is not a category they expand easily. The way cats use their eyes shifts dramatically depending on what they're tracking, and the next behavior shows you exactly what heightened alertness actually looks like in real time. You've probably noticed your cat's pupils at some point and thought nothing of it, or assumed it was just the light in the room changing. But if you've ever watched your cat's pupils expand to full black circles indoors, in normal lighting, while they're staring at something specific, that's a different signal entirely. The common assumption is that pupil dilation is purely a light response. More light, smaller pupils; less light, bigger pupils, basic biology. That's true as far as it goes, but pupils in cats also dilate in direct response to emotional and neurological arousal, independent of light conditions. When a cat is highly stimulated, whether by excitement, fear, intense focus, or play drive, the sympathetic nervous system triggers pupil dilation as part of a whole-body state shift. The cat is not just seeing more, they are switching into a heightened mode of engagement with whatever has their attention. Animal behaviorists describe this as a readiness state. The cat's brain has registered something worth responding to, and the body is preloading for action. Dilated pupils in normal light often come paired with a slightly lowered body posture, weight shifted forward, and a very still tail, all of which together indicate an animal at the edge of a decision. For you as the person in the room, this is one of the most readable real-time windows into your cat's internal state. When you see it during play, your cat is fully engaged, not just tolerating the toy. When you see it paired with flattened ears or a crouched posture, something in the environment has genuinely unsettled them. Pupils tell you where your cat's attention is. But the tail tells you what they plan to do with it, and that story is more nuanced than most people ever realize. Pause here for a second, because we're about to cover the tail signal that most people completely invert in their interpretation, and once you understand it, you'll never read it the same way again. Your cat's tail is in motion right now, or it has been recently, and if you've been reading it as one thing, there's a strong chance it means something else. Most people know that a tail held high is a good sign: confidence, greeting, comfort. That part is accurate. The misread happens with tail movement. A wagging or flicking tail in a cat is almost universally assumed to mirror what it means in a dog: happiness, excitement, friendliness. In cats, the opposite is typically true. Research in feline body language consistently shows that tail movement, particularly the sharp, repetitive flick or thump, signals increasing arousal, and often frustration or overstimulation. The faster and more forceful the movement, the higher the internal state of agitation. A slowly sweeping tail can indicate focus or mild interest. A fast, hard flick is your cat's body communicating that their tolerance threshold is approaching its limit. This behavior evolved from the same system as the pupil dilation response. The tail movement is an involuntary motor output from the emotional state. The cat is in not a deliberate communication, but a readable one. Many animal behaviorists believe cats themselves are not consciously aware of their tails moving in these moments. It's the body expressing what the mind is processing. For you in practice, this is one of the most useful signals to know. When your cat's tail starts moving during petting, it is not an invitation to continue. It is a pressure gauge showing you where the needle is sitting. We still haven't covered the wall stare behavior, the one from the opening, and the explanation for it is genuinely one of the most complete rewrites of what people assume about cat perception. Back to that moment, your cat's still staring at a fixed point on the wall or ceiling. Nothing there that you can see, nothing you can hear. Most people land on one of two explanations: their cat is strange, or their cat is seeing something supernatural. The second one makes for better social media content. Neither one is what's actually happening. Cats possess sensory capabilities that are, in a measurable and documented sense, categorically different from human perception. Their hearing range extends significantly beyond ours. They can detect frequencies up to roughly 79,000 Hz, compared to the human ceiling of around 20,000 Hz. They can hear the structural sounds inside walls, the ultrasonic calls of insects, the movement of small animals in spaces humans register as completely silent. When your cat stares at a wall, the leading explanation from feline researchers is that they are tracking a sound source, locating something by sound with a precision that their visual system is now orienting toward. The depth of this is worth understanding. Cats evolved as ambush predators in environments where detecting prey early, before it was visible, was the difference between eating and not. Their auditory system is wired to triangulate sound position with extraordinary accuracy. The ear swiveling you sometimes see paired with the wall stare isn't restlessness, it's active sonar. What this tells you about the moment is that your cat wasn't staring at nothing, they were listening at a location. The stillness was concentration, not vacancy. There's a behavior that happens fast, often in the middle of something else your cat is doing, and because it's quick, it almost always gets filed as a nervous habit. You've seen it: your cat is sitting calmly or you've been petting them, and suddenly they turn and lick a patch of their own fur briefly, pointedly, then stop. The typical read is anxiety or self-soothing. Something made them uncomfortable, so they groomed. That's the simple version. The fuller picture from animal behavior research is that this is what's called a displacement behavior, a neurological release valve that activates when a cat is caught between two competing impulses and needs to interrupt the tension between them. In ethology, displacement behaviors are well documented across many species. An animal that wants to approach but also wants to retreat will often perform a completely unrelated action as a way of breaking the deadlock. When your cat does this during petting, they are often not anxious in a distressed sense. They are navigating a genuine internal pull between enjoying contact and needing space. The groom is the resolution. It lets the nervous system reset. For you, recognizing this is useful because it's a signal that appears before visible discomfort. Your cat hasn't reached the point of pulling away or swatting. They're still choosing to manage the moment rather than exit it. That's actually a sign of a cat who has some degree of comfort in the interaction, even as they regulate their own threshold. Understanding displacement behaviors changes what you think you're seeing in dozens of small moments. But the behavior we're building toward, the one most people only recognize too late, works differently. It doesn't announce itself at all. Here's one that catches people off guard precisely because it looks like affection. Your cat approaches you, turns around, and presents their back end toward your face. Some cats do this on laps, some on desks, some on pillows. First-time cat owners often find this baffling. Even experienced ones just accept it without understanding it. The assumption tends to be that cats do this by accident, or that they're simply indifferent to spatial orientation when seeking attention. It seems thoughtless, like the cat just didn't bother to face the right direction. In feline social behavior, turning your back to another individual and exposing your hindquarters is actually a high-trust signal. Kittens present this posture to their mothers for grooming, and the behavior carries forward into adulthood as a form of social bonding. By turning their back to you, your cat is presenting a vulnerable area, one they would never expose to a cat or animal they didn't trust, and signaling that they feel completely safe in your presence. The evolutionary root of this is in early bonding behavior. Mother cats groom their kittens from this position as part of hygiene and neurological development. The act of presenting and being groomed from behind is one of the earliest bonding experiences a cat has. When your adult cat does this with you, many feline behaviorists read it as a retained attachment behavior, your cat placing you, in some functional sense, in the category of trusted companion. It's an unusual way for that to express itself, but in the grammar of cat behavior, it's one of the clearer statements of trust available. Now we've arrived at the one that matters most, and it's the quietest signal on this entire list. Your cat changes where they sleep, not dramatically, not obviously. They stop choosing the spot by the window and start sleeping in the back of the closet, or they move from the couch to under the bed, or they start sitting in rooms they didn't use before. It happens gradually enough that most people don't register it as a pattern until weeks have passed. The common assumption when people notice it at all is that the cat simply found a new preferred spot. Cats are unpredictable, they like what they like, the new location just appeals to them now. What veterinarians and feline behaviorists consistently flag is that a meaningful, sustained change in resting location can be one of the earliest behavioral signs of physical discomfort or illness. Cats in the wild are prey animals as well as predators. An animal that feels unwell instinctively seeks concealment, not out of fear, but out of a deep survival drive to avoid appearing vulnerable to other predators. A sick wild cat is a targeted cat. The instinct to hide when not feeling well is ancient, and it does not disappear in domestic cats. This means the shift to smaller, more enclosed, more hidden spaces, especially when paired with any decrease in activity or appetite, is your cat's biology communicating something their behavior can't say directly. The reason this matters most is the one the hook was building toward. It's the signal that has the highest stakes and the most benign explanation attached to it. Of all the ways your cat communicates, this is the one most easily dismissed as a preference, and it's the one most worth paying attention to. Go back to that moment from the beginning, your cat in the hallway staring at the wall completely still. Now you know what they were actually doing. They were triangulating. They were listening to something in the space between hearing and sight, using equipment that's been refined over millions of years of solitary hunting. They weren't being strange. They were being exactly what they are. When you look at all 7 of these behaviors together, what becomes clear is that your cat is not performing for you, and they are not acting randomly. Every signal on this list is generated by the same underlying system. A highly specialized predator with a detailed, consistent behavioral vocabulary that operates whether or not you're fluent in it. The slow blink, the tail movement, the displacement groom, the hidden sleeping spot, these are not quirks. They are outputs of a nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do. The difference between noticing and understanding is what makes the relationship feel different. Not because the cat changes, but because you start to see what was already there. Which of these 7 behaviors does your cat do most often? I'm particularly curious whether you've noticed the sleeping location shift. Drop a comment describing where your cat's been resting lately, and tell me if anything in this video clicked into place. I'm reading every response today. If this is the kind of content you want more of, grounded in real science, not just surface-level trivia, subscribing means you won't miss what's coming next. The next video is going to take apart something cat owners think they understand completely, and the research behind it is genuinely unexpected.